personnel, and so on and so forth. Funds permitting, then you can add in the patron, the human resource officer, the sweeper, and so on and so forth. So, technical officials, as far as I remember, in university sports, we look at medical, we look at trainers, we look at coaches, depending on the setup of the organization. Then the administrative officials include all those that are meant to do administrative work, like the head of delegation, the managers, etc. I have traveled with the national team between 1997 and 2003 as both administrative and technical, because by then we had not developed capacity even to hire coaches. You hire a coach, you have to pay for his air ticket, feeding and accommodation, and allowances. Until such a time when we got coaches that are not money-minded and work within our own institutions, whereby directive comes from the top, you are going with the team. So there are no question marks about allowances, per diem. For us in Uganda, we don't talk about per diem. We discuss that after the event is done and with the performance. And I would like to thank Mr. Kayongo, who has been our head of delegation for quite some time. And he normally tells me when I talk about per diem for my office, he tells me, let us get the performance, and then we shall pay accordingly. You get a gold medal, then you deserve something. You come back with nothing, goodbye, and we move on. The MC told me to concentrate on major sports events. Of course, when we talk about universities, we talk about events where a national entity is involved, like a national university team. Of course, we talk about AFCON, that is on the continent, SECAFA in the region, Commonwealth, World Championships, Olympic Games, etc. But of course, for us, we concentrate on East African University Games, FASO Games, World Championships, and World University Games. What we do in-house is we have a qualifying event. The moment we are invited for any competition, we must make sure that there is a qualifying event for that item. Like for example, right now, we are supposed to have World University Games in China next year, and our qualifying event is at Indeje during the East African University Games. If you cannot get a gold medal in Indeje in December, or a silver or a bronze, count yourself very unlucky. It will be very difficult for us to be convinced that you are worth representing Uganda. Because at a regional level, you can't get a medal. Then what are you going to do in China? So we use the East African Games, the All African Games as Uganda to qualify our athletes because we feel they are good enough to compete. Good enough, Professor Nywera was talking about Yeko Dismas from Ndeje, how he made sure that all the runners were following him. And I remember after the event, after completing the event, he took a bottle of water and then the second person came in. So we use that as a qualifying standard to get the long list of athletes from which a tentative team is selected for training. Now, for training, normally we should have non-residential training, and this normally takes precedence looking at the period between the training is presumed to start and the competition. Usually for big events, such training can take 6 months, and maybe residential training takes a maximum of 6 weeks because of the related costs. Like for example, the games in China will be in July. So we are going to summon the team around January. Then February training has to start. Of course, what we do in Uganda, we have institutional training at the respective universities. We announce the team immediately after the games. Then the universities where we picked the athletes begin training those athletes at their respective institutions. So by the time they call for residential training, these players or the athletes are somewhere. Then maybe 6 weeks to the event, then we go to camp. And we go to camp depending on a particular sport. Like for example, athletics, We go to Ndeje because of the facility. Then if there is another event, we also move to that particular university because of the facility. The final selection is done by the technical arm of the organizers. Of course, as ours, we have a technical director. He sits with the coaches, and then they announce the final team. Normally done 2 weeks to the event. Why? If you announce the team 1 month before the event, these people, at times, as long as they are assured of traveling, the level and the attendance at training drops down. So that's what we do in Uganda. Now, as all this is being done, the selection of the final team, you have to look at the eligibility as per the event rules. There are very strict rules in university competitions in terms of weight. Like, for example, you have an athlete who is going to play karate or taekwondo. There are weights that are given by the organizers. So don't just carry someone just because he's good. You have to look at the weights. Then university sport is about the age, below 25. Then you have to be a university student pursuing a course, not a 6 months course certificate, but a course, a diploma or degree. And that university where the athletes comes from must be an institution that is recognized by the highest academic authorities in the country. If your institution is not recognized by government, then you can't qualify to be part of us. And we have had quite a number of challenges when some of these people are dropped, and then they say that is the general secretary doing that, the technical director, but that is what the rules talk about. So, weight, height, age, and we have a lot of information we filled. Like recently, we register online. You register some athlete today as Vincent, and you say he's graduating in 2004 and has been doing a master's degree. So that data is kept by FISU or FASU or even East Africa. So if Vincent is again brought back after 2 years and is 21, the other time he was 18, the system will kick him out. And we want to thank Huntington. Huntington developed a system that has helped us as Uganda, East Africa, and even Africa, whereby it is very easy for him to know that you have registered this player who played 5 years ago. He must have graduated in 2018. Of course, the retakes cannot be done in 3 years. And I think all institutions in Uganda or even East Africa, there is a time period within when you are allowed to complete your course. So we want to thank Huntington, who is our product, for having come up with that. I think it has helped us a great deal. We have an issue of visas, especially we in Africa. Every time we are traveling outside the continent, even within the continent, visas is a problem. So the visa process must be handled in good time because of the different requirements per country. There are situations where the student has to present a balance, what do you call it? A bank statement. So at times we challenge even the embassies, because how can a student have a bank statement? They want the bank statement of the university, and you find that the university doesn't want to disclose the financial status. Some universities may not be doing well financial, and then you want to publicize that it is not possible. Even the government, at times we say, if it is the government helping you, okay, go and bring the, how can I ask for a bank statement from National Council of Sports or from Ministry of Finance or Bank of Uganda? So at times we fail in these areas, and times if the organizers don't help, we fail to compete. We had a challenge recently when we traveled to Belgium for the Mind Sports Championship, when the organizers wanted everything from us. And yet we are banking on government to support us, as it has been the practice. But by that time, the government had not made any transfer. You remember very well, first quarter, second quarter, and they were insisting. There's no way we could get a statement which had zero money from either National Council of Sports or Ministry or Bank of Uganda. And we got the visas like 3 days to the event. The prices of air tickets has jumped 3 times, and we had to drop almost half the team. It was not in good faith. But of course, they have also particular rules they follow, because some people were very much aware they travel and they don't come back. That's why for us in house, the moment you have traveled with me, I will get the passports, including for the head of delegation. I remember Mr. Kayonga supported me a number of times on this. I asked him, I need your passport. And I've kept it since 2005. Every time we are going out. And other people say, you give me my passport, I want to get money from MoneyGram, something of that kind. I tell him, even the HOD's passport is with me. To avoid that, one time a student lost a passport, and we had it to sweat plasma. Because you have to go to the embassy and then say, you people, do you have managers of the team? How did the student get the passport? For what? The moment the team arrives, get the passports, do the accreditation, keep the passports. You only surrender the passports at the airport. And that's what I've been doing. I've managed that kind of system, and if you are to disappear, maybe you disappear before, or you reach the airport and then you mingle and then disappear. But that's what we have been doing. Of course, team kits. It looks simple. This is a uniform, but some sports uniform is very important, and you may not even play if you don't follow special specifications. Like in basketball, the numbers, the advertising must be at a particular place of the uniform. In volleyball, the numbers are supposed to be of a given width and length. The captain's uniform is different from the rest. The coaches, the assistant, all the medical, the people at the technical bench are supposed to put on a particular uniform. I remember when I traveled with my team to Egypt for the first time. That was the National African Volleyball Championships Women. I watched the game in the stands until when I organized the uniform that looks like that of the coaches. So this is very important. Now, modern training requires that we put on identical uniform. We don't need to train like villagers. You know, when you go in my village, training in the evening, the 11 players are putting on 20 different attire, and the life is going on normally. But that is disorganization. At a university level, national level, this is not good. We need to have identity so that one team is different from the opposing team. So there should be a training regime planned, managed and supervised to enable the team to acquire the necessary skills and fitness levels. It is recommended that there should be an identical team kit for team bonding. The players are motivated, they look alike, and you enjoy the training even if you are a fan. Then you must have casual attire after training. When we go for these competitions, we don't need to look like tourists. We need to look like a team. That identity in the casual attire gives team bonding. Whether the players are going for meals or for breakfast, and this is what we normally see when we go for international competitions. I call upon all of you to have casual wear. I think the universities have done that, and let it be respected. Because even when you come to Ndeje and your player, I don't want to say of Nairobi University, because of my brother Murizi there, he's putting on funny stuff. Now he's in the villages of Ndeje looking for a sugarcane, and then people say, who is this one? Who is this one? Now, the identity of your uniform will automatically send a message that this one is a university student, is part of this team. These are just 5 days. Why do you want to look like a Christmas tree at a sports competition? So we would encourage that, and that's what we do as Uganda. Then competition, we must have the recommended team uniform as per the sports event regulation, or as described in the sports regulation. This also affects the coaches, and for some events, like I've said, basketball, volleyball, taekwondo, judo. If you don't have that kit, you will not compete. My colleague in taekwondo will tell you that they even have special gear to protect the chest, to protect the head, gum shields. That is part of the uniform. If you don't have it, problems. Flight bookings. These have to be done in a good time to avoid last-minute engagements. And funds permitting, tickets should be secured in advance because ticket prices normally soar towards the event. I've just given you our experience. In July, the ticket to Belgium was 789. By the time we traveled, it was 2,119. Meaning every person that was to travel, we would miss 2 people traveling. And that is not something to joke around. So in the future, if you're planning, like the finance manager talked about, plan in good time. You have the numbers, chop the team so that you are within the manageable finances. Now, about flight bookings, you have to be aware of how much time athletes should be at the waiting lounges at the airports. I've seen teams when I'm traveling, and you ask, where are you going? We say, I'm going to Japan. When is your flight? The next day. When did you arrive? Yesterday. 2 days in transit. The athlete reaches the final destination when he's competing in 3 hours, and the legs and the body is too tired. So that is in respect to flight booking. Let the connection time be short enough to allow players, athletes to have enough relaxation. We have a problem of feeding and accommodation. At times they send us information in the manuals and we neglect. You look at the photos, you look at accommodation and close the book. But you need to find out what are you going to eat. I remember when we were going to Belgium, Madame Penina sent us pictures because she had gone earlier. And there are those, I don't know what the name. Julius, what were they? Those bread which were, the bread was like from here to here, and the inside there's a lot of stuff, green. Sandwich. And what is inside there? Bread and other stuff inside there. And the students were asking me, what are we going to eat? I said, that's what we are going to eat. So they thought she was joking. So our first meal was supper, because we arrived towards the opening ceremony. And when they say we are going for lunch, I mean for dinner, and people are being served, they say, are we having other food at the hotel? They said, no, this is supper. But within 2 days, we had settled. So arrangements should be made to establish the menu that will be served at the games, to prepare the mind in time. Accommodation should be secured if not arranged by the hosts. There are situations where they invite, the host tells you that you will be responsible for your accommodation, especially for some championships. So you make sure you have that. Otherwise, you'll be looking for accommodation and every place is full. I remember where we were in Belgium. By the time Brian reached, there was no accommodation. So you have to do that in time. Team travel, there should be concrete plans for the team travel from camp to the given venues and back. This must be done before the schedule as per the game timelines. You know, we are given when the opening ceremony will happen, then the games, then the closer. So you need to organize your team travel. It is very bad for you to arrive when you are competing in 3 hours. Except for athletics. Athletes who train in high altitudes prefer to arrive for the venue around the time when they are about to compete. Because if they go to a venue which is of a different altitude, it affects them and they give you bad results. So all that is supposed to be discussed and extensively by the technical team, because the majority of us Africans, when we go for these games, we concentrate a lot in the dining. We eat a lot, we add on excess weight, which is not good for the athletes. For the officials, you can eat and and stay there. I remember we had an event, Madam Penina, we may tell you a story. We had an official, we went together for breakfast. Then he got up with a fellow colleague that they had stayed with for some time. They talked. Then eventually the colleague went, the guy dozed, slept. When we came for lunch, we found the guy inside. We ate lunch. He was too talkative. We talked, we ate, we left the guy there. Of course, after realizing that he had enough business in the afternoon, eventually he dozed. We found him for supper. This is a true story. Until when Mr. Mugisha, formerly from Makerere, told him, you know what you're doing is a disservice to Uganda. You came here at 7, it is 7:40 in the evening, you have not left this place. Can you please make sure that every time you eat, you move out? Yes, you can eat and remain there when you are an official, but for the athletes, it's not good. Actually, in Uganda, our coaches determine what the athletes eat. We have Mr. Kiwa Faustino, who is our coach for the athletics team. He moves with the players for every meal, breakfast, lunch, and supper. Training together and everything. There's nothing like the players are moving separately. Flagging off the team. This is a very key fact that members should look at seriously. Whether you are a university team coming for East African Games, make sure that the team is accorded an official flag off. It motivates the players. At times, even if some allowances have not been given, the vice chancellor may say, hey, kumbe these people were not given allowances. They look as smart like this. He may be compelled because it's part of the process. So if you remind him that whereas you flagged off these people are moving without allowances, he may be provoked just because of that event. This event gives national identity, direction, and it should be done by a recognized government entity or sponsor, and it adds value to the team branding. Technical meetings, this is a must for most competitions. The first day on the eve of the competition or 2 days before the competition, a technical meeting is organized to brief teams about the event and the final submission of team entries, draws, inspection of team kits. This is very important. For some teams, some teams are disqualified just because they have not participated in the team technical meeting. I've seen a lot of that in volleyball. I've seen that sometime back at Kenyatta University, where Kampala University was thrown out. So it happens because the organizers cannot wait for one entity who is not around to postpone each and everything. You're thrown out and life goes on. So you must ensure that that happens. And I know that's what we even do here for the East African Games. So as you leave, you make sure you do that. I remember sometime back in 2006, I was heading the secretariat of the organizing committee of the East African Games. And my friend from the University of Nairobi, I've forgotten his name, very brown guy. He told him stand on the doorway, say, Patrick, I have 5 buses from University of Nairobi. We have 200 athletes and 25 officials. Here is the money. He was giving an envelope of money and another envelope of documents. By the time they arrived, we had already done the cards. We had already done the rumor question. We had done the fixtures. Now the gentleman comes with the 5 buses at 5 p.m. and the games begin the following day. So when we talk about those areas, we are talking about planning and organization. I remember Mr. Kisenyi and Mr. Kayongo that day they didn't sleep, looking for where we can accommodate the University of Nairobi. It was not good. Now, record of team results and monitoring performance. At times, most coaches, they go for games, but they sit in the stands, and they don't look at what the athletes are doing. As you record the results, monitor the performance, the active performance of your athlete on the pitch. Like, for example, in athletics and some other disciplines. One of the opponent of your athlete may infringe a particular regulation, which may deter your athlete to qualify for the next round. So if you sleep, that one is gone. But if you are sharp enough, immediately you go to the technical room, technical director, and say, this is what I've noticed. That athlete crossed into my athlete's lane, or he stumbled, or he did ABCD. That athlete will be disqualified. We had a disqualification in Taiwan some time back, and recently I think our athlete, was it Nakai or Nanyondo? Something had happened when she was competing. So if the coach went to eat and went to tour, you will not get that. That's why you have to be very serious at looking at the performance, and also be conversant with the regulation. What happens if this ABCD is done? Can I petition? Because you will be taken to the strong room and they will be shown a video replay of what exactly happened. If your athlete stepped on the line that is not supposed to do, or he crossed before, then you will be communicated, and then, but if you keep quiet, the officials may not be as vigilant, and they ignore that. That's why you have to be very vigilant at at monitoring. So we request that you do that in time. There is some development in football where there is VAR. Recently, my club was playing, and the referee had given a penalty, and the referee was issued a red card. But my players, my Arsenal players, went to the referee and said, no, this can't happen. This player was pushed, so he shouldn't be getting a red card, and there's no penalty. The referee had to go to VAR. We don't have VAR in Ndeje. And it is very difficult for you to make any simple noise during a football competition where in our region, because there is no VAR. You just have to make some noise after the game, and maybe we talk to the referee to improve, but nothing much can be done. But my main emphasis is the coach should be observant when the athletes are competing, because there are certain things which violate the rules that you can hang on. Now, we have moved from when we prepare the team to the time when we leave. The head of delegation must work on the transport arrangement, check out procedures as arranged by the host to ensure the team leaves the games village as scheduled. Teams must be at pickup places for the next connections. In most organized events, the transport department is very organized. They are aware of when you arrived and when to leave, and they will make sure you leave and be at the airport or at the point of embarkment 3 hours before departure. So as head of delegation, you must look at that. Finally, a final report should be prepared by putting together all the assigned officials' reports about their responsibilities to come up with a final report. Normally, delegation has a number of officials. It's not good for the head of delegation to just write a report. No, get reports from all these people, because whoever you carried was doing a particular assignment. Then you put them together, come up with one report. This report must cover all the details, including challenges and recommendations, because in the future, the next team that will be traveling for that particular event will be benchmarking and make better preparations. I want to thank you so much. That experience was from University of Sports Uganda. There could be other things that other people do. I would welcome them for us to share. Nice evening.
Yes, thank you very much, Patrick. He speaks from the heart because he has organized many of these. Actually, we shall challenge Patrick to write a proper book. Is that okay? Document that experience. It will be very, very helpful. And the important word there was planning, planning, planning. And that involves a lot of things. Those in sports management, you can spend some time just talking about planning, okay? But let us take that advice. So thank you very much. Another hand clap for Patrick, please. So now we go to our final presentation, after which we shall have a panel discussion. This is talking about the university sports event I want, right? The university sports event I want. What is that dream event for university sports that you expect? And to talk to us about this particular one is Miss Joan Auma Adolo from Maseno University. Join me to welcome our very own Adalo. You're welcome.
Thank you, Mr. MC. And he's been kind enough to ask me how much time I need to use. So thank you. And we have agreed between the two of us the time that I will use. It's just for the two of us. Don't worry. Yes, thank you. The VC, Ndeje University, the Vice President, Fizu, Madam Penina, the President, East Africa Sports Federation, Dr. Munai, my DVC at KU, Professor Onywera, my guest lecturer at ITECA, Sport Management Team in 2016, Mr. Guntalang, all other invited guests, and the marketing agents. Good evening. We are not marketing agents. Yes, we are. We have been given a name that we are marketing agents. Good evening. Okay, sports tutors. Good evening. Yes, the event that I want is this. One, we have looked at university sports as a movement, and previous speakers ahead of me have spoken much about benefits that comes with sports. There are good practices that we have to look at, the environment that we engage in as a federation, and we want to look at sports as a business, revenue creation, and of course we will look at stakeholders. Who are these that are engaged within the university sport movement? And it dates back in 1949, the university sports movement. That is when FISU started. The stakeholders include the athletes, spectators. As members of the federation, in our individual universities, we have sponsors as the stakeholders, then the organization that we serve, plus suppliers. Where are we placed in terms of stakeholding for university sports event? So each one has a share in this. Then it is an ecosystem that we need to create. And at the end of the day, all of us will act as agents for each of the events that we have to organize at the university level and make them as franchises. How media broadcasting can come in, and I see Ndeje have a TV station, and they would be our biggest sponsors or partners. And the far that we have seen in terms of organization, even in this symposium, you have already gotten it right, Ndeje. So we hope that in the run-up to the December Games, it would be seamless, much more perfect. So keep doing it as you have done it for this one. Then as a business, university sports is a big business. Just before COVID, in 2019, the NCAA overall had 18.91 billion US dollars worth as a business before COVID. We know things took a dip after COVID, but we had to use this data based on things were normal in 2019 and how ticket sales come in is big business. There are donors that come in NCAA. They do royalties, advertising, and as university sports movement, we can copy into that and make ourselves blossom at the end of the day. That data is from Statistica. Then still as a business, we have various ways we can thrive. How? Merchandising, the kits that we wear, brands. And there's an example there from Indiana University. Look at the cost of the boots that they purchase. The jerseys is a lot of money in terms of $1 million. So as a business, we can thrive well into that. Then for good practices, we need policies and procedures when we are organizing a university sports event. Diversity comes in what way? Not just the mainstream sports that will only do football, will only do netball. No, we must diversify ourselves. FISU has world championships for very major events like orienteering, cycling, golf, cheerleading. So we need to diversify ourselves, not just block our minds that we'll only do soccer, we'll only do netball, is a sport for women. Let's give a variety for our students, for them to be able to choose from a wide range of activities. Then for inclusion and equity, women, people with disabilities must be included. I don't know if Ndeje we have an event for PWDs in December. Let's consider it. For disputes, the technical chair would come in handy to handle our complaints in good time. As a host, let's look at risk management. Do we intend to ensure the entire event just for, God forbid, if anything happens, are we ready to ensure the entire event? Human resource, I'm sure we have to get the correct technical officials. As universities, you'll get the best coaches. Then, at the end of the day, we are thinking about professionalizing university sports. That way, we must put our athletes to sign agreements or contracts at the end of the day if we intend to professionalize university sports. Then, do fans really come to our events? Who are the fans that can come to our event? And how do we bring them in? Fan engagement is very important. I don't know if, again, Deje, you would be in session for the entire student population, or you would be closed so that only the participants at the games are the only people that would be in session. That way we will miss fans to watch or spectate. For publicity or marketing, very important. And we have a social media platforms. I was looking at Twitter. The FAO's Twitter handle was created in 2021. We only have 145 followers, just 145. Ndeje itself, as a university on Twitter, has an account that was created in 2014, and it has over 9,000 followers. So we need to co-share this aspect of publicity online and make our presence be felt. Because we deal with clients who are keyboard warriors. They just want to sit, but again, be engaged or be involved in some of the events that we take part in. Then we have been advised that for documentation or research, it must be a continuing process at the end of the day. Our facilities, let's create an environment that is very conducive. Our facilities, top-notch. And I was happy to learn that the university has a master plan to develop world-class facilities for the December Games. So we are sure that they would meet international standards. University of Oregon hosted the World Championships. I remember somebody asked online, that is the event in a university or not? Just because of the world-class facility that enabled University of Oregon hosts the World Championships. Whatever you see there is a tennis court or tennis courts for University of North Carolina, Chapel Hill. World class. And when we come back home, okay, still, that's an indoor gymnasium at the University of Carolina, Chapel Hill. Those are the facilities that exist in some of the universities. We have started on a good note, especially for the previous events like FASU. KU has done well in terms of improving facilities. We acknowledge it. And let the rest of us, members at FAOS, take or follow the steps. There's a basketball that is coming up, or that has come up in one of the universities in Kenya. So that is at USIU, and everybody in Kenya is amazed with that basketball court in terms of facility improvement. Mr. Salano Boniface is a good job. So we were talking about diversity, that is cheerleading. Let's have varied sports for some of these students. That's golf. People rowing in the same direction as a sport. Yes. Then, finally, I want it to be very exceptional. Ndeje, it's good you have that catchword, that be exceptional. be exceptional. In Kiswahili, can we read? Kuwa wa kipekee. Yes. So Ndeje, all the best. That's what I want as an event in December and much more. Asante. My name's Joan Adalo.
Thank you very much, Joan, and be sure she has kept within the time we agreed. Can we clap for her? Yes, and Joan, thank you for those wonderful thoughts about the university event I want. And the issue there is that it has to be exceptional. And Joan has gone ahead to try and tell us what that exception is. And I think Ndeje, plus all of us, Ndeje is hosting, but these are our games. We have to make them exceptional for the students for whom we do all this, okay? So as we say Ndeje, it is also about FEUS. Can we do something that is exceptional this year for the students? Okay, ladies and gentlemen, we are getting to the end. We still have one more panel discussion to really appreciate further the issue of this event I want, okay? And the panel theme will be University Sports Event I Want, reviewing the hosting, conduct, and delivery. Okay, so reviewing the hosting, conduct, and delivery of an event. So I'd like to invite the following panelists. And it is a nice team, a mix of relevant people. Mr. George Wagogo. Mr. George Wagogo. Mr. George Wagogo is the technical director of House and also sports tutor, Chambogo University. You're welcome. Next we have Mr. Aziz Karunji Kasuja. Is he around? To represent the students committee. Opal. Mr. Opal. Mr. Opal is representing his chairperson, Mr. Opal from Makerere University. You're welcome. Okay. Then we have Mr. Boniface Salano, and the name emerged during the last presentation, so it is good that you're coming up. Mr. Boniface Salano, the Vice President in charge of technical for our FEUS. I was going to say house, sorry. FEUS. And then we have Mr. Wilfred Muhumuza. He's the Dean of Students, Ndeje University. And finally, it would be, because we are talking about hosting, conduct, delivery. Would like also to invite the immediate past president of FEUS, Mr. Siriako Kabagambe. of FEUS, so the immediate past. So you're welcome, ladies and gentlemen. This is our panel for this afternoon. Can we welcome them with a hand clap? Yes, I will have a few questions guiding, but if there are any questions within the audience, please, you can write down the question or you want to ask. Okay, I'll give you an opportunity. Somebody with a microphone?
I'm asking right now.
All right. Where are the ladies? Well, there are no ladies and we can't fix it now. All right, so let's go by that. Yeah. Yes. Yes. You know, Oris, that is a tough question, especially if in the arrangement it was not done so right. You can't fix it now, but we do acknowledge and respect all the ladies around, isn't it? That's why